Program Director, I'd like to be allowed to ride on the existing protocols, and we regard them as observed. Today we are saying our final farewell to our father and our pillar of strength. When our mother, Mrs. Marina Maponya, left us in 1992, we lost our family's matriarch. It made him sad, resulting in him nearly losing the drive we have come to know him for. Today he is joining her in their last resting place that he had chosen for them at the time of her departure. An era is ending, a cycle is complete. We have not had the time as children to sit down and reflect on what our new reality will be without our anchor. The implications are intimidating, as the world has become a different one altogether. He was there yesterday, he's gone today. We don't know how the future looks like. We still have to go through that. Life continues, but most importantly, we must adapt to being without our leading elephant. 99 years is indeed a very long time, and we are grateful and blessed that he was around for so long. To us, our father wore different hats. He was our father, he was the chairman, our backup, a pillar, and at times our why. It really depended on the advice or guidance one would want or one would be seeking. Growing up in business household may have looked to many people as interesting or fortunate. We had a little more, but the reality was different. It came with lots and lots of work and sacrifice. We were working all the time from an early age. We had no holidays. We learned accountability very early at the basis of the small businesses. We learned discipline, responsibility, and how to be of service to the surrounding community and beyond, to those who were clients of the businesses. In reality, we worked throughout the holidays and thus became de facto part of the staff. There were times when the regular staff members had to go on holiday or on leave, especially around this time of the year, in December also. Then all the children had to go up and be instrumental in ensuring that work continued. The unpaid labor reinforced the ideals and principles of entrepreneurship, of course. Now, ladies' generation at least started getting pocket money or something like that. Some of our peers got pocket money at home, but frankly, I don't remember us getting pocket money except on days when we had to go back to boarding school. We learned then to make do with the little we had. We learned early not to depend on others. We learned then to manage our expectations. Today we comprehend and accept his drive that has been described here, his impatience and tenacity. He always wanted things done in his way. That on its own was a challenge or a lesson in diplomacy, because you could come into him with what you thought was a brilliant idea, but if you didn't convince him, he would not buy it. So you had to find other ways of presenting it. Well, maybe some could convince him, like my sister here. I had to find alternative ways of presenting it to him so that he could consider it and look at the other possibilities. Our dad could rush you when he wanted things from you. And at times he wanted them very quick. But make no mistake, you could not rush him. If he was not convinced of your idea, he'll make you wait until he's run it through his head and was convinced it would be a yes or a no. We honored and respected him as the head of the family, a good leader who taught us to respect others and always practice humility. He was a dignified man and commanded respect. For me, there was not much difference in his demeanor between the private person and the businessman. We exhausted familiarities quick, and it was back to business. He wanted to get his feedback on many of these things. That's why I didn't make that difference. So even if you went on a weekend to talk to him, it would end up being a business discussion. What is happening there and how far are you with that? And that was his nature. During the past year, our conversations centered around the same themes: unemployment and poverty, and job creation at times. Feedback meetings, as I said, were scheduled regularly for him to be briefed on what was happening around the institute where I am based, or other businesses where my other siblings are involved. It often felt like micromanagement. That was a special feature of his. He was in control, period. He was getting increasingly worried at the shortage of skills in our country and wanted to play a role in changing the situation, in creating jobs, in alleviating poverty, and especially for youth. Although there's a group he normally described as the lost generation that is above what we categorize as youth, there are a lot of those also that do not have jobs, some poorly qualified, no perspective. We have told the story of how he was inspired to start an institute that would offer various artisan skills coupled with entrepreneurship. The ambassador of Brazil has taken most of it the way I would have described it in my speech, so I'll skip that. But that is one of the projects and things he had become increasingly passionate about. Two things: the farms he had started and mobilizing the farmers around there to empower them, to make them part of a bigger scheme, professionalizing their output and the entire value chain. And he was trying to do it in Magalies, and Winterveld is going to be the beginning. We are going to try as the Institute also to get involved and improve the skills of the people around there, the farmers and their farm workers. As mentioned before by the ambassador, he was impressed by what the Brazilians had achieved, so he was bent on bringing it here, starting the Institute, getting us to get the Brazilians in to help us replicate their systems here. We're in constant contact with them. They've become family friends. We have one goal, as he had mentioned, that we have similar or similarities in our challenges and the countries. So, yeah. On arrival back from Brazil, there were lots of discussions between Dr. Maponya, the Institute, the consultants who were involved, with the Department of Education and Training then, and a few other departments, because we had to determine also between basic and higher education. And it was a long road to find the right people to talk to. And at the end of the day, the Institute has been established, it's doing many programs, but the core of it was to establish skills and entrepreneurship institute in Soweto, and be sure that the pilot works and then replicate it in other provinces. So the challenge up to now has been to find the headquarters and home of the Institute in Soweto. And we've been engaging different departments. It's just been around holidays. We will be getting back to those rooms and talk about suggestions and see how far we get. We have since developed a close relationship with the Brazilian embassy, as I mentioned, and we'll continue with that to a point where when we are signaling readiness to them, we will get trainers from Sinai or whichever other institution is involved to train our trainers, either here or in Brazil, and take it from there. I won't get into details now. The Dr. Richard Maponya Institute and the University of Johannesburg, as is known, have a partnership, entered into a memorandum of agreement, and we've started doing our awareness campaigns and different events since a couple of years now. I think Professor Maruela mentioned it at the memorial, that we have the Dr. Richard Maponya annual lecture on entrepreneurship, Dr. Richard Maponya Soweto annual conference, which is held in this venue, the Dr. Richard Maponya think tanks on entrepreneurship that we do in collaboration with the Johannesburg Business School. It usually happens at Auckland Park. These awareness campaigns and projects or programs we partly do with DUT, where we go and do workshops and an annual lecture. Last year I was invited to the Mangosuthu University of Technology to have something like a workshop with students on the first day, and the next day a keynote speech on entrepreneurship, but using Dr. Maponya's life and business journey as an example and case study. It was their inaugural entrepreneurship week, so we hope to have started a movement also in that area. The Institute is working at establishing lasting partnerships with institutions of higher education and training and sector education training authorities, SETAs. To date, the following partnerships have been established. Department of Higher Education, Training, Science and Technology, University of Joburg, Durban University of Technology, Annual Provincial Dr. Richard Maponya Entrepreneurship Lecture and Workshops, Mangosuthu University of Technology, Southern African Society for Cooperative Education, SASCI, Central University of Technology, where I do a workshop and sit on the panel of judges, and we do also projects like with DUT. And so why I'm mentioning this is because we are trying to cultivate partnerships with different institutes of learning, especially the universities. We've developed a relationship with EDHE and USAF. So as we go along, we would like to see development in that area also. Our vision is to be the premier institute for technical skills, business admin, and entrepreneurship development, but starting in Soweto and going to other townships and eventually to other regions, provinces. At the time of his passing, Dr. Richard Maponya was working with the Dr. Richard Maponya Institute staff, a few consultants, and other stakeholders on the following projects: a national rollout of the Institute, presentations and to public and private companies, and inviting them to participate in the programs of the Institute, the establishment of the Resource Mobilization Committee, identification of the national and workshop facilities in Soweto, farming, agricultural entrepreneurship development projects and programs linked to the Winterveld community and programs that are happening there. This is what Dr. Maponya was referring to, the mobilization of the farmers there into co-ops, because most of them do own these properties and need assistance just to leapfrog them into farming and commercialization of their farms. One of his passions in the last weeks and months was to talk about Winterveld and getting Winterveld's value chain established, leveraging on his farms to develop a vibrant agri-business model or agri-park type of thing where all the smallholder farmers around would benefit and be part of this chain and exchange experiences and chores, but eventually becoming commercial farmers and successful farmers that can supply bulk to some of our retail companies. This was one of the latest projects that he was busy, although it started a couple of years ago that he is mobilizing in Winterveld and Magalies. He was very eager to get this going also. And the last discussion I had with him short before Christmas, he was subtly putting pressure on me and was asking for progress on that. And he asked me to give it to him as his Christmas present. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. To quote him, he said, "I would appreciate it if you worked this out and gave it to me as my Christmas present." Close quotes. I would like to leave you with this quote from Roy T. Bennett. "Good leaders have vision and inspire others to help them turn vision into reality. Great leaders create more leaders, not followers. Great leaders have vision, share vision, and inspire others to create their own." I dedicate the 6th of January to the memory of his life. On that day, we will celebrate his life my siblings and family, in memory of his life instead of my birthday. He left on that day and it coincided with it. So I have an excuse for the family to come together and we celebrate his life. In closure, I would like to say we thank him for entrusting us with all the projects he has started, for pushing us to our limits. But foremost, we thank him for his being, his existence, his Dasein, for us and for other people. We will miss you, Papa. Thank you.